Cheers.
Today I'm in London, and Stu from Yeastie Boy. He's a very busy man with all his family and brewing commitments. So thanks for your time being interviewed.
My pleasure.
Cool. So can we start with the general Yeastie Boy story, like how it all started?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So beer was a big part of family life growing up for me. My parents were from Scotland, moved over to New Zealand before I was born. And my dad was always kind of like, he did a bit of home brewing, and he searched around for interesting microbreweries, as we called them back then in my kind of teenage years, and things like that. So beer was always part of the household, with dinner, in the backyard in the afternoon, and then me helping out my dad a little bit with a bit of home brewing and things like that. He often talked to me about the breweries that he loved back in Scotland and things like that as well. So kind of had a little bit of an upbringing around it. Just beer and food, for Scottish people, it's a big part. Hospitality is a big part of our culture, and we spend a lot of time together drinking and eating and things like that. And that kind of like, it sort of manifested in the background for a long time for me. I was always interested in good beer, but it really came out kind of in my sort of mid to late 20s when I had an office job. I'd gone through university, had an office job, and I started to want to get into something a little more creative that people could appreciate, rather than my creativity at work, where in an office where no one would ever get to see it or know about it. And at first I thought I wanted to become a chef, and then I realised I like to be around when people are enjoying themselves, and chefs are always out the back. So I thought, what could I do in food or drink? And then brewing kind of sort of just started to come back to the surface again there. So I was a very avid home brewer from around that time, always with the intention of maybe one day turning professional with it. I spent a lot of time at organising beer competitions and working for the Brewers Guild of New Zealand to help kind of just better beer in New Zealand. And then after a few years of that, things started to come together where I started to realise my beer was as good as the commercial beer around, and I started to notice some opportunities in the market of what was, the potential was. And that kind of just snowballed into starting with my friend Sam, Yeastie Boys, with the idea of brewing one batch at a friend's brewery. And then we had such fun with that one that it kind of kept going and just getting bigger and bigger. And it was always based on the idea of selling one batch of beer, funding the next one, and sort of slowly growing in that way. So we never put that much money in at first, and then as it started to get bigger and bigger, we started to put more money in. And then a few years ago, we had noticed that export was going to become a harder market to approach over the years as local beer markets got a lot better. We got invited over to do a beer collaboration brew for a festival here in the UK. That sparked the idea of brewing here permanently, and then we crowdfunded to come over and start brewing here permanently. So we've been here for 3 years now, and we're 10 times the volume here in the UK. We're selling now than New Zealand, and potentially, looking to probably be 20 times that within the next year or two as well. So lots of growth here at a much bigger market.
Okay, now New Zealand and Britain, geographically, the longest distance one can cover. For culturally, there are a lot of linkages. So is that the reason why, apart from that opportunity back then, why you choose to be based here?
Yeah, so obviously I have the family connection with my parents being Scottish, so I have a British passport, so that helped a lot. The fact that we've been asked to send beer to the UK for a long time was a big influencing factor, because we'd always looked at the numbers and thought it's not really sustainable. We can send some beer over for the people who want to try it one-off, but for people who want to buy it again and again, the price was going to be very prohibitive. So that was definitely a big part of the factor. And then the fact that we kind of thought, well, we can service New Zealand, Australia and Asia from New Zealand, and then Europe, potentially America from Britain. It's almost like having two hubs on opposite sides of the world. And as we get bigger, we have thought that perhaps one day we might start brewing in Asia, or maybe in America or something like that as well. We've never had the intent to grow so big that we dominate the market. It's more about kind of being active in different markets together.
So speaking of Asia, so they were like working with lovely people at Tramline Liqueur to bring the very lovely Yeastie Boy beers to Hong Kong. So how long has it been?
It must be about 5 years now with Adam and Mark. They used to be called Red Willow, now Trapline. So we've sort of seen that change with them as well. They're smallish but important shareholders in Yeastie Boys as well. So they bought in during our crowdfunding, which makes them sort of top of our list in regards to our export partners. And interestingly, one of the few places in the world that buy UK beer and New Zealand beer. So whichever suits them in regards to other beers that they're moving around at the time, they tend to buy a little bit of both. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. You have any bigger plans? Like you just mentioned, you may want to start a beer in Asia.
Yeah.
So what's your view on the Asian market as a whole?
I always kind of had the philosophy of I like to export beer to countries that I love to go and visit, and definitely Hong Kong is a place that's sort of like very high up there for me. I love spending time there. I haven't spent too much yet, but I spent a week there 3 years ago when I first came over to the UK, and then was there for a couple of days about 18 months ago as well, and probably will be back there later this year. Very keen to potentially do something there, and having export partners who are also shareholders of the business certainly kind of ramps that up the priority list a little bit more. We've probably bitten off more than we can chew, at the moment in Britain. So it may be a couple of years away, but often sometimes it's just the right situation that comes up. You find the right person to work with. Maybe a brewery that wants to fill their capacity with something else might be a good thing for a joint venture or something like that. And then the beauty of it is Hong Kong being halfway between New Zealand and the UK, it's a natural stopping point for me going either way. And I always prefer to stop in somewhere in Asia, going to and from New Zealand.
Okay, so you just mentioned the beer you're now selling in Hong Kong from New Zealand?
Sometimes from New Zealand, sometimes from the UK, yeah. At the moment, I would say probably 2/3 or so, maybe a little bit more is coming from the UK. And the UK now is, we've just employed a head brewer recently. So originally I had done all the development for new products and all of our beers over the years, and employed a really excellent head brewer. He's going to take over our seasonal program. That'll all be based in the UK. So our more interesting kind of one-off beers are all going to come out of the UK. So I probably start to see a lot more stuff from here.
Okay, so we are quite familiar with the classics, Guna Mata and like that. So are there something new, excited years coming up?
Certainly are, yeah. I mean, we're putting together kind of 2 different seasonal programs. Okay. One is the kind of the normal beers, as I would say, like different IPAs and different classic styles, some lagers, things like that. And then we're also looking to put together a barrel kind of a wild project. So some of them will be strong beers, barrel aged. Some will be kind of mixed fermentation with some Brettanomyces and things like that. It's a specialist area of JK, our new head brewer. Very much into lots of those mixed fermentations and slow beer, Solera style as well. So developing our own culture where we can brew some beer, ferment it with our own culture, pull off about 80% of that, but then leave 20% in there to keep growing, and develop our own special house character for our special beers.
Mm-hmm. Lovely.
Yeah.
We look forward to that. So,
yeah.
Thanks for your time, Stu.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Cheers.